far away from expectations. It would be an escape, a real one. She took a deep breath and immediately sneezed. Then again. She stopped, pulling out a tissue, blowing her nose, before sneezing once more, the sneeze turning into a laugh. Hay fever now, for God's sake. And no wonder. Just look at those street trees budding, no, absolutely bursting into bloom. The pollen count must be off the charts. And it was warmer than you'd think for Paris in April. London had been chilly and she'd dressed accordingly. Now she was starting to sweat with the heavy pack against her padded jacket. She pulled the jacket off and stuffed it into her bag. Pushing stray strands of blunt-cut black hair away from her face, she consulted the map on her phone. Bugger, still a fair way to go before she reached the hotel. She should have caught the metro, not stalked out of the Gare du Nord like some drama queen. Ah well, serves you right, grumpy guts, she thought, adjusting the straps of her pack and walking on. Kate's bag bumped against the steps as she climbed up. She'd decided to get off at the station before her destination just so she could get a proper first look at the neighborhood as a whole. Plus, the long flight and then the train and metro ride from the airport had left her dazed and disorientated. She needed fresh air to reset her body clock. She needed to know she really was in Paris and not an interminable transit through drafty tunnels and platforms and airport halls that could have been pretty much anywhere in the world. Emerging into the street from the dim underground, she felt the blissful shock of the colours, the smells, the sounds. It was the most beautiful afternoon. The sky was deep blue, and against it the lovely old pale stone buildings glowed. Trees flung up armfuls of white and pink blossoms. The soft air was full of fragrance. There were people seated at the outside tables and cafes, chatting and laughing, and not one of them was wearing black. Imagine. Then she heard the melodious cooing of a wood pigeon from somewhere nearby, and she had a memory of her parents dancing to an old jazz song called April in Paris, which was about the charm of spring in this city. I understand it now, she thought, her pulse quickening, barely even noticing when an impatient commuter surged past her, muttering about les touristes. Kate didn't care. Joy filled her from top to toe. The hotel wasn't far away, but she took her time getting there. There was so much to see, and she kept stopping all the time, taking it all in, and taking photo after photo. Yes, she'd been to Paris before, once, but that had been 16 years ago, when she was 25. And she'd only been here 3 days, rushing around, taking in a dizzying number of classic sites, the tourist magnets such as the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame, the Opera and the Champs-Élysées. That hadn't been her choice. She'd wanted to take it more slowly, to see less and yet see more in a way, to take it in properly. But, of course, Josh had other ideas. He wanted to do Paris, to say he'd been there, to tick off all the sites in the 3 days he had planned so tightly before they moved on to the next iconic European city. She hadn't had the heart to tell him that wasn't what she'd dreamed of when she'd mentioned wanting to go to Paris. Oh well, she'd thought. We've had a little taster, and though I'm still hungry to see more, there'll be a next time, and it will be different. I'll make sure of it. But years had passed, and there'd never been a next time. Until now. And even though it was the beginning, already it felt different, like a real adventure starting in a place she was going to get to know well. Her heart skipped a beat at the thought. This would be her neighborhood, her actual home for the next month. Would you just look at it? Here was a cafe whose awning was covered in stunning waterfalls of silk cherry blossom, while across the street, rakish rows of multicolored bikes looked as though they were about to take off by themselves. Over there, a small greengrocery showed off its fruit and vegetables as though they were still life paintings, while not far away, oysters and scallops, still in their shells, ferried a heady smell of the sea. A little further on, a flower shop boasted